I'm going to be talking to you about my favorite vegan cupboard essential items. So all the things that you need that are lying around in tins and jars and stuff like that. I have been vegan for nearly 8 years now, and these are just the items that I think are really, really essential that every vegan should have in their cupboards, ready to go to use at any time. I could list a million things here and you'll see that my cupboards are not beautifully organized. They are full to the brim with many different things, and I'm not going to talk about every single item that you'll see in the cupboards because you would be bored to death. But what I will do is highlight some of my absolute essentials. So hopefully this will be a nice quick list of things that you can replicate in your own vegan cooking to take it to that next level and enjoy lots of awesome, amazing, easy dinners and lunches and breakfasts. And some of these things might be things that you already have in your cupboards, but some of them are a bit more random things that you may have never heard of before. These are the things that I wish I'd known about when I first went vegan. So yeah, I wish someone had told me that these things existed like 8 years ago. I'm also going to be talking about my bulk buying tips as we go through as well. If you're anything like me when I first went vegan, or perhaps you've been vegan for years and you've not really looked into bulk buying stuff, you can save loads of money, but also I was confused as to where to look for these items. So I'll give you some tips on where you can find these things cheaper and in bulk. Also, before we get started, if you are enjoying my content, please like this video, and also hit subscribe if you haven't already, because join the family. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's raid my cupboards. Why does that sound dodgy? I don't know. The very first item that I wanted to share with you is these beautiful things, which is cacao nibs. I literally could not live my life without cacao nibs. I buy these from Whole Foods online. I get through so many of them that I literally buy them in these kilogram bags. So yeah, this is how much I love cacao nibs. They're filled with magnesium and loads of other great stuff, which is awesome. And I add them into like breakfasts, on my granola bowls, and I chuck them into smoothies. So yeah, they're just super awesome. So definitely get yourself some cacao nibs. So the next thing I wanted to highlight is my amazing cashew supply. So I try to buy these in bulk when I can, but I also get them really cheaply from Tesco, from the international food aisle as well, which is another top tip. And these are just so good. They're so versatile. They make my absolute favorite creamy dressing, and they are just amazing. You can chuck them into curries and stews. They are just a super, super versatile ingredient that I think that every vegan should have, because you can just make any kind of creamy style dressing or cashew cheese, just yeah, so much stuff. So cashews are definitely going on my cupboard essential list. The next thing I wanted to highlight is Tamari. So you can buy this from basically anywhere. I pick it up from Tesco. You can also get it from Whole Foods online and Holland & Barrett and any kind of whole food shop, to be honest. I also buy one that looks like this. So that's a slightly larger one. So either or, it doesn't really make much difference which one you want to get. But the reason this is going on my essential list is because it is basically soy sauce, but a healthier version, I think. So it just tastes a lot nicer, it tastes a lot cleaner, and it's just so good to add to soups, sauces, stews, basically anything. I use it to make things saltier, tastier, and to add almost like an umami flavor into the dish. So this is definitely going on my essentials list. The other really similar product that I also wanted to mention, which I used to get mixed up with Tamari all the time, is liquid aminos. So again, you can probably find this in lots of different bottles. This is the one that you'll tend to see in a lot of YouTube videos. This is Bragg's liquid aminos. Same thing, doesn't matter which one you choose. Basically, these are, again, very similar to Tamari, but these have a slightly different flavor, and I can't tell you the difference because I don't know. You're a better person than me if you know the difference or what the hell you're meant to use these for. But for me personally, I tend to use these in my salad dressings, like in my cashew dressing. I use liquid aminos rather than soy sauce. I have a lot of this in my cupboard because I make so much of that cashew dressing that I'm banging on about constantly. So that is why I have quite a lot of this. This particular one I buy in bulk from Whole Foods. This one came from my local Whole Foods store. The next thing in my cupboard that is an absolute vegan essential is this weird looking stuff, which is green nori sprinkle. Now, you don't have to buy this in sprinkle form. You can buy this in sheet form. You can get nori sheets. But the reason why this is so good and the reason why I want to recommend this is because this was a relatively recent discovery for me, but I wish that I'd known about this sooner when I first went vegan. So this is what you need to kind of recreate that tuna flavor, that kind of sea flavor, if you want to make chickpea tuna, or if you want to create like vegan fish alternatives. This stuff is great. And again, you can pick this up from most stores. I don't think I got this from Tesco. I think it came from like the fancy aisle in Waitrose, but you can buy the nori sheets from Tesco. I just don't have any in at the moment. I just got these sprinkles, but they're really, really good. Oops. Super useful to have in, and that is why they're going on my essential list, because I wish I discovered these sooner, because I used to eat so much tuna. Oh my god, so much tuna. So it was really nice to kind of find a replacement for that. And yeah, this is just a flavor that I find really hard to replicate, but this does the job wonderfully. The next thing that's going on my absolute essential list is coconut milk. This is the savior of all cupboard foods. I literally can't imagine my cupboard without coconut milk in it. So the reason why this is going on my essential list, again, it probably is already an essential for most people, but when I went vegan, I certainly ate more coconut milk based dishes than I ever had done ever in my life. You can use it for stews, you can use it for a soup base, you can use it for curries. I literally get through so many of these tins of coconut milks. I wish I had my own coconut tree. I don't, so that's why I have to buy it in a tin. So these are the ones that I tend to buy. These are literally like 75p or something from Tesco, from the international aisle. But this is the one I tend to go for because when you look at the ingredients in coconut milk, my top tip is to just make sure that it's got as much coconut in it as humanly possible, because a lot of them have lots of funky stuff in there. And also just make sure that it's not filled with E numbers or something like that. The reason why I choose this one is it's relatively good, it's got a relatively high amount of coconut in it, and it's not filled with like nasty things. So that's why I settle on this one by pride. Also, really quickly, I just want to mention my collection of beans and pulses up here. So these are some green lentils that I get from Tesco, which makes them really easy just to literally chuck into things. They're pre-cooked, so I tend to use those. I tend to get organic beans when I can, but it's not always possible. So I always have some black beans, some kidney beans. There should be some chickpeas hiding behind here as well. There are some chickpeas hiding behind there. So stacks upon stacks of beans and pulses that you can just chuck into stews as well. So definitely get some of those. This next item is an absolute vegan celebrity as far as I'm concerned, and I don't know how I managed to live my life without this until I discovered it. This is the world famous nutritional yeast. I am so obsessed with nutritional yeast that I actually had to turn the camera around in order to tell you about this because my arm was aching as I was going on about it. So this is the vegan secret ingredient to life. I wish that someone had told me about this when I first went vegan. So if you've heard about this and you don't know what it is, or some people call it nooch, I don't know why. This stuff is just amazing. It adds a cheesy flavor, it adds a creaminess. It is such a great thing to have in your cupboard. Every vegan should have some of this stuff. I add it into my cashew dressing that I keep going on about. I also add it on top of salads, just sprinkled on top. I add it on top of any pasta dishes, and it is an absolute must ingredient if you're making a risotto. One of my favorite vegan dishes to make for people is a risotto, and this is my secret ingredient, and people always turn around to me like, what are you putting in this risotto? It tastes so good. And I always say, this is the secret ingredient. So if there's one thing you take away from this video, you need to get some nutritional yeast in your life. As you can see, I buy this from Buy Whole Foods online because I get through so much of it, and then I store it in my storage jar because I just eat this like it's going out of fashion. But you can also pick it up from relatively standard stores now, so you can get it from Tesco, Sainsbury's, Waitrose, like anywhere like that. My tip is to check the free from aisle. That tends to be where I found it before, and it comes in little tubs like this. So that's normally what you're looking out for in a normal shop. This just looks a bit strange because I buy it in huge quantities because I eat so much of it. Next on my essential list is something called Miso Paste. So this is the one that I get from Tesco, but you can also buy this in bulk from places like Whole Foods online, and it looks really different. It looks kind of like this in a weird packet. It's like flat packed in a way, I don't know. This has got some like real richness to it. This is my secret ingredient in any stir fries. So if you're like me and you don't want to buy any pre-made stir fry sauces, then you just add literally a teaspoon or two of miso paste into your stir fry base with other stuff like ginger or like a fresh chili, and then you've got an amazing vegan stir fry. So this is a great thing to have in your cupboard, but technically it's in the fridge because once it's opened, you have to keep it in the fridge. But this is a cupboard buy until you open it. Over to my next hideously organized cupboard, which is just, I mean, it's not very well organized, this, is it? So I'm gonna skip over things like rice and stuff like that, but what I am gonna pull out is these dreamy things. I use these all the time in stir fries, and they are absolutely great to have hanging around in your cupboard as they literally are instant. All you do is you put them in a pan and put some hot water over the top of them and leave them for about 3 or 4 minutes, and then you've got some amazing rice noodles. I also just wanted to pull these things out of my haphazard cupboard. So these tend to be my go-to pastas, anything like red lentil or this kind of pea-based one. So this one I got from Whole Foods online. This one I just wanted to show you because I know that some of these things are perhaps more awkward to get hold of, but this I just got from Tesco. As it says, it is high in protein. These are also gluten-free as well, and I just really love the idea that even in the kind of basic pasta of the dish, I'm getting that extra nutrition in. So that's why I really love these. The other thing I wanted to pull out of here is my serious collection of plant milks. I mean, it goes right back there. So the reason why I keep these things in my cupboard and why I think every vegan should have at least one emergency packet of plant milk in their cupboard is because picture needing a cup of tea and you realize that you're out of fresh Oatly. I mean, what kind of situation is that? So I always have at least a few packets of plant milk in my cupboard because these are long life. So yeah, definitely keeping some plant milk on standby just because you never know when you're going to run out of this stuff and you're going to get through a lot of it. My final cupboard has got a lot of nuts in it and also a lot of like breakfast stuff, but also a lot of baking ingredients in here, which I won't go into. But the thing that I wanted to pull out of this cupboard for you is lovely, lovely maple syrup. This is a great thing to invest in once you go vegan and you're looking for a sweetener. I tend to use maple syrup or agave nectar. So I basically intersperse these. I tend to use agave if I can't be bothered to unscrew the cap on the maple syrup, or I tend to just squirt a bit of this into hot drinks. Like sometimes I'll make a cup of vanilla chai tea and I'll squirt a bit of agave nectar in there as a as a treat. That sounds really sad, but it's really, really nice, honestly. Get back on the... But maple syrup is great as an alternative to honey. I use this mostly in baking. So if I'm doing cookies or cakes and it calls for a liquid sweetener, I will always use maple syrup. And you can get this pretty standard from most shops. Make sure that you're buying a pure maple syrup. That's my top tip. I had no idea that there was so many complexities to buying maple syrup, but a lot of maple syrup that you'll buy will automatically be vegan, but it will be made up of a lot of artificial sweeteners. So you want to make sure that it says like pure or 100% maple syrup or something like that on the packet, so you know that it is literally the sap from the tree and no other crap is added to it. I would say that if you've just gone vegan, do some experimenting and figure out like what sweetener you prefer. I like to have both of these in the house because I use them for slightly different things, but you can also get things like date syrup and all kinds of different sweeteners as well. These are just the two that I tend to use because they're quite easy to get a hold of, and yeah, I like the taste of these. Flaxseed as well, I just wanted to pull out quickly because this is pretty much a staple in a lot of vegan baking. You'll see the need for a flax egg. If you haven't seen that before and you're wondering what I'm talking about, basically it's when you add a tablespoon of this to roughly 3 tablespoons of water. That's basically what a flax egg is, and it literally replaced a chicken egg in baking. So this is an essential to have because if you're going to be baking lots of cakes, cookies, all that kind of stuff, it's great to have this kind of thing available to have as an egg replacer. But I also personally really love it because it's just packed with so much good stuff. Like I think you can see a lot of this on the label there, but it is a really great source of omega-3, and so I tend to add a lot of this to my smoothies. Again, this will be going back on my bulk order because it's a lot cheaper when you get it in bulk from Buy Whole Foods online, so my top tip is to check it out and buy it in bulk. So those were all of my favourite vegan cupboard essential items. I really hope it was useful for you, and I hope to see you next time.